Welcome to a new round of Decision Makers, our frequent conversations with policymakers and experts offering us the latest insights and perspectives on a wide range of issues. Tennessee State Representative Jesse Chism now joins us, chairman of the Tennessee Black Caucus and representing the 85th District in the volunteer state, which includes parts of Memphis, of course, and Shelby County. Thanks for joining us, Chairman.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
All right, excellent. Talk about the 85th district, if you will, as we start off. What's the composition of that district in terms of socioeconomic demographics or socio-racial demographics, that is, and also income? Just give us a sense of what your district looks like.
Okay, so the 85th district in Memphis, I have a dualistic a district, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I have some of the poorest parts of the state as well as some of the affluent as well. Mm-hmm. So my district is about almost 80% African American. Mm-hmm. So I have one of the blackest districts in the state. Income, I have parts that's a little bit above average, and I have some parts that's deep down in the poverty level.
Got it.
And also my 85th district is also the most western district in the state. So my district, it borders Mississippi. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of fights about keeping Tennessee dollars in Tennessee.
Wow. Okay, got it. So that's a challenge in terms of the poverty and affluence, but also, being right there on the border as well.
Absolutely.
Got it. You just ended the previous session of the Tennessee State Legislature, and it was rather contentious in a number of ways. Speaking of the challenges that you're faced with, so what stood out for you in terms of debates and bills that were passed, and what were the most problematic for you?
Okay, so I guess I'll start with the debate part. I think the hardest debate was the lack of debate on a few items. There was a bill to end DEI in a lot of educational institutions and agencies, and instead of having the debate on that particular bill, we never got a chance to debate on that bill. The question was called during one of the amendments. So the question was called on both the amendment and the bill. And it gave a lot of people in the chamber a lot of heartburn. Because, something that's important to so many people, such as DE&I, I think it was important to have a robust conversation about such a matter. And we never got a chance to have that debate. But also, there was a slew of really bad bills this year. There was a bill to charge immigrants to go to public school. There was the Human Rights Commission was moved over to another department. We had a education voucher scam that was passed through as well during a special session. So, and that special session just kind of kicked us off into just a abyss of fighting and turmoil.
Now, as you're looking at the clashes that you had to deal with in the state legislature, going back to your district, so against the backdrop of all of that is, the feelings of your constituents, and I wonder what were the top issues for your constituents, and one these days, just in general, in relation to what you had to talk about and debate on, or didn't debate on in the legislature, and how do you ensure alignment of those issues and interests with what's happening right now in the legislature?
So one of the big topics in my district was there was legislation aimed at taking over the Memphis Shelby County School Board, and that was a hot topic for a lot of people in my district. So there was a lot of debate. It was very contentious, but that was one of those bills that was taken that wasn't taken up at the end. So that bill may come back up. So that's a conversation that when I go back into my district, we're going to have to continue to have really robust conversations on how to stop that piece of legislation. And also, if that piece of legislation passed, what do we do next? What are our next steps? Because we want to be as strategic as possible in making sure that we give our students in Memphis the best education possible.
So what are, you know, we know what issues your constituents are facing or what's important to them, but what are your priorities as not just a representative, but as chairman of the Tennessee Black Caucus?
Um, well, many of the things that I want to do with the Black Caucus this year, I, I've been preaching all week that this summer we want to collect both allies and ideas. We've been planning a statewide tour, so we may be coming to a city near a lot of people. So we're going to go to definitely all of our largest cities in Tennessee, but also we want to go to some of those smaller ones as well to listen to the ideas of constituents and also come up with legislation that is beneficial for African Americans, not only in Tennessee but all over the country.
And so you're going on that statewide tour, looking
Mm-hmm.
for allies and ideas. You want to hear from constituents. You want to
Absolutely.
hear from residents in the state, see what they can come up with. So, you know, I guess what also could be a challenge for you is getting constituents to know exactly what's happening in Nashville, right? That can always get tough when residents regularly lack knowledge of the goings on in a state capital. That's not just Nashville, that's anywhere, much less the inner workings of a legislature. So, how do you encourage or build the educational component?
Well, that's one of the reasons for having our statewide tours. Um, and also when all of us go into our districts, a big part of our job is educating people on the process. Since I've been elected since 2018, I've found that a lion's share of my job is to educate people on how the process works. Because I get a lot of calls from constituents, and they have issues, and I have to more or less direct them in the right direction to how to get that situation taken care of. So we spend a lot of time educating. We have to educate people on uh, who their representative is, how to get in contact with them, what things are under their jurisdiction versus the city council versus the county commissions, and things of that nature. Things of that nature, and also to educate this year, the Black Caucus. We now have a education foundation where this fall they'll be working on having a summit just for that purpose to educate constituents on the legislative process.
Tennessee Black Caucus, you're currently the chairman. Uh,
Yes.
Describe how that's organized, like how you all caucus, and what it's like to navigate in a capital in a state still facing a troubled racial past and also present, right?
Yeah.
It's the legislature's majority white, and it's pushing issues that most times clash with what you're all concerned with, or they don't align with your district's interests.
You just said it right there. Uh, you know, um, we are in Tennessee. Democrats are in the super minority, and um, African Americans, um, we are um, in a much smaller number. So it's said we have 17 African Americans in both the House and the Senate. And you just said it. There's legislation. It seems like it's aimed at us. Um, you know, and see, and those bills getting pushed through. It definitely gives us a lot of heartburn. But I'm so glad to chair such an organization with so many talented people. Our Black Caucus, I tell you, they are some of the most talented people in the whole wide world who have Black people in mind, who have a heart to serve, and who have the fist to fight. We find ourselves in a lot of knockdown, drag out fights over our constituents, especially with me being from Memphis, which is a majority Black city. There's a lot of targets that's aimed directly at Memphis because of our demographic. And because in Memphis, we subsidize most of West Tennessee. And in Nashville, you have a very high number of African Americans, which in in Nashville, they subsidize most of West Tennessee, most of Middle Tennessee. So we have a collection of fighters, and we have to fight because there's so many things that been aimed at us that we have to speak out about. Sometimes we have to be a little bit louder than we would like to be, just to be heard. But we have people who have the backbone to do this work.
Two important questions here, Chairman. One is, have you found yourselves in moments where you become like the deciding vote, kind of on the margins, or, you can kind of insert yourselves in a particular bill that's being passed, and, there's some consensus around it, or maybe it's a bill that's also being pushed by members on the other side of the aisle. And you're like, okay, you know what? We can have some influence in this. We can insert our few votes in this. So that's one. And then two, do you negotiate sometimes with members on the other side of the aisle?
Absolutely, absolutely. I tell anyone we are in the business of relationships, and with those relationships, well, I put it like this. Uh, I was telling somebody one day. I said, "Hey, what I found since I've been in the legislature is your sworn enemy at 9 o'clock may have to be your best friend at 11. Then you may be sworn enemies again by 3 o'clock. So because it's based on mutual interest. So to that point, there have been bills and committees and subcommittees that they may have needed one or two votes, and by us being able to uh, either use those votes to either kill or pass that bill, it's opened some doors for us to be able to insert what we need in other pieces of legislation, or it's allowed us to have some bills that make us really uncomfortable. We've seen some of those bills get pushed down the road a bit, if you will. So it's been very important for us to negotiate, because that's a big part of our job here.
These are some very interesting and caustic political times, as you know, Chairman, to say the very least. And I wonder how that's impacting Tennessee, the state's legislature, and your ability to pass legislation or to help pass legislation that's favorable to your community. So, I know there was some legislation there that last session that was reflecting the priorities of the current administration in Washington. So, how are you dealing with that?
Well, the things coming from the federal government has really affected some of my people on the other side of the aisle. It has emboldened them. Um, some of the things as far as immigration and um, you know, getting rid of departments of diversity and those things. We're starting to see a lot more of legislation like that, and they it seems that there's always a tagline that they weaponize. This year's DE9. Last year it was um, um, not woke. It was critical race theory, and so they're using these taglines to um, push agendas that are against us most of the time.
We've been talking to Tennessee Black Caucus Chairman Jesse Chism. Really appreciate your time, Chairman. We know you're busy, so we do appreciate it. More on the chairman at jessechism.com. That wraps this episode. I'm Charles Ellison, your executive producer and host. A warm round of gratitude to our partner, the Civic Literacy and Media Influence Institute at Learn for Life, for making this possible. A special thanks to the Council of State Governments for supporting our Legislators series. Diane Ellison is executive producer. Raven Robinson is senior producer. Until then, you can find this episode and more while subscribing at thebnote.com. Thanks for watching.